Dear listeners, there's a pattern to your life that you might not see yet. The same challenges appearing again and again in your life. Maybe you can also say that the same feelings surfacing at different times. So the question comes is, what if those patterns were not random? What if they were kind of actually part of a map, a blueprint that you have been carrying since the day you were born? Possible, right? So today we are exploring how the date you entered this world holds clues to the struggles that you face, the strengths that you carry, and the freedom that you are searching for. Yeah. So hey dear listeners, welcome back to another powerful episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host Vivek, and this is the show which is about practical ways to understand yourselves better, live with more clarity and peace. And today we are going deep into something that sounds mystical, but lands very practical, like how your birth date might reveal the game plan that you have and that you kind of were born to play, right? We always try to, sometimes we all becomes curious, like what exactly is there? Which direction I should be going into, right? So, yeah, so all of that. So today, joining me is lovely guest. Please welcome Alexander and Viki. So, welcome to the show.
Alec, thank you for having us. What a pleasure. Always a pleasure to be with you.
It's exciting. It's great for us to talk with you again. Thank you.
Amazing. I'm really happy to have you here again. And yeah, I mean, the topic is very, very great because that is the reason I use this word curious, because in our life, we are always curious that what's next? Why not this one? Kind of, right? So, and who can better guide than you? So, dear listeners, like before we get into the discussion, I'll quickly love to introduce you with Alexander and Viki. So, uh, they guides in a system that maps, I'd say, life patterns, like so what they call the source cards. Yeah, the source cards, helping people kind of recognize the repeating cycles and turn these struggles into a strategy. Yeah. So I'll not take much of your time. There are a lot of things to discuss with them. So welcome back again. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. So this is to both of you. Like as I was saying, like most people hear their birth date and they think that astrology or kind of personality quiz. But you talk it about, I mean, it as a kind of blueprint, like a game plan. So, what is the biggest misconception here? Like people have when they first hear that their birth date could explain why certain kind of patterns keep showing up in their lives.
Something.
Yeah. And no, definitely. I will say that's a great signal that something great is coming. Yeah.
That is the biggest. That's the biggest misconception.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah.
Use me.
No issue. Yeah.
Gosh, the biggest misconception that people have. There are many misconceptions. I'm not sure I can narrow it down to the biggest misconception.
Okay.
It depends on who we're talking to. If you're talking to a skeptic, rational, science-minded person, they just dismiss it as some kind of a horoscope, astrology, which they already dismiss anyway, or numerology, which they would already dismiss anyway. For people who are more open-minded, let's say, who are willing to investigate the mystery of life, who recognize that reality is far more than our brains can conceive, and so they allow for some novelty, some mystery to appear. For these types of people, the biggest misconception is that it's so simple. They're always wanting to make it more complicated. And they're used to, astrology or other systems which rely on precise time and place of birth, where in the source cards, you don't need that. You just need the numbers, the date, and all you need is the month and the day. So it's a very simple system. And I think that's why sometimes people overlook it, because it's so simple. And they think, well, it can't be that much here because it's so simple. Meanwhile, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. This was a quote of Leonardo da Vinci, that the simpler you can make something, the more elegant it is. Like Einstein's famous equation of E equals mc squared. Such a simple equation that changed science completely. But I would say and Avik, maybe you and your audience fall into this general category of those of us who are more open-minded. For us, and for me too, when I first found this system, I couldn't believe it was so simple and that it was based purely on the date of birth and it was all in the cards that way. It was hard for my brain to accept that it could be this simple.
Wow. Exactly.
I want to add that, I mean, just the whole concept of that, the original truth of it is that it's much more than a game that we play gin rummy and bridge and go fish with, is in and of itself a challenge, right? So we're here to change people's perspective of the true meaning of the regular deck of 52 cards.
Exactly. And definitely, like as you said, and I think that's what a lot of us get stuck sometimes, right? I mean, if I'm not wrong, like uh, we notice the patterns, kind of same thing, maybe sometimes same argument, same feeling, blockage, everything, but we don't see it as a kind of information, and we just think that we are falling again and again. So definitely, it's reframing as a blueprint, something definitely you can actually work with that shifts everything. So
I think in general, that's the hardest thing for human beings, is to change their mind once they've made their mind up. And what Viki is saying is very true, that for all of us, I think without exception, for all of us, we first encountered this deck of 52 playing cards as an object for idle games of chance. Whatever those games might be, it varies around the world. There's so many different games to play with this deck of cards. So all of us have first encountered it that way, as a little gaming instrument. So to change our minds about it and to rethink it, that might be the hardest thing of all for people.
exactly, yeah. So yeah, please, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, and you were talking about the repeating patterns that we experience. Like we just repeat these, we have these patterns that keep happening to us in our lives. And we kind of just like, well, can be like, well, that's just the way it is. But this template of these cards, because we do have a life path of cards, and that's all based on our date of birth, and it's all based on math. So there's a mathematical calculation in order to get your birth card and then your whole life pack of 13 plus cards, that those patterns are shown in the cards. So the template shows the patterns that we are playing out. So it can bring tremendous clarity to someone who is experiencing those patterns that you're talking about. And, wow, this is why this keeps happening to me over and over and over. It's in my cards to play. Oh, now I have the awareness to really see the patterns in play and where it's coming from. And then I do believe it's easier to make different choices, seeing the bigger picture template of what's happening.
As soon as we realize it's not random and we realize that there is a pattern, even that in itself is empowering, because we no longer feel hopeless and powerless. We see, oh, there are patterns in play. And in the moment of seeing the patterns, you realize you're not the patterns. It's like the age-old advice to meditate and watch your thoughts. If you are watching your thoughts, then you're not your thoughts. And that's freedom from your thoughts. That's the same idea. If you're able to notice the patterns for what they are that are repeating in your life, and if you're the one noticing them, then in that moment, you're free of the patterns because you realize these are not me. I'm the one watching the patterns. And in that freedom, then you have the potential to make a different choice. And that's what we teach people, is how to make a different choice to play your cards right, literally.
Exactly. Mhm. True. So here one thing definitely. So suppose if someone was listening right now and they're dealing with kind of chronic tension, like anything. I mean, tension, fatigue, something that won't shift, no matter what they try. So how would they start to explore, like whether it is connected to how they are navigating their life relationships, or like what do you say, their Saturn card energy, right? We always sometimes, I mean, we always stay in fear about Saturn, right? Like what will happen. So yeah.
Yes. Yes. So, as I mentioned, there are 13 plus cards in a life path. All those cards show a different aspect of our human being. And one of those cards is the Saturn card. There is a correlation with astrology, there's a connection there. And it's all about life lessons and challenges. So, that is a fabulous card to look at in one's life path to learn about oneself and the challenges that the person is going through throughout their whole life. And when they learn to really play that card well, meaning utilize the energy to their benefit, right? That's playing the card well, playing the high side of the card, the positive aspects, really looking at the negative aspects and seeing how that plays out, making different choices. They actually can feel healthier and happier in their physical bodies because it affects our physicality. It affects our health. So I'm going to give you myself as an example.
Mhm.
I am born on June 12th.
Okay.
That means that my birth card is the 5 of Diamonds. So I'm playing the life path of the 5 of Diamonds. The 5 of Diamonds is about being out of the box in what I value most in my life, bringing a fresh new perspective of something, which I'm doing right now about the regular deck of 52 playing cards. So that would be like, not that everybody playing the 5 of Diamonds needs to do that, but that would be me playing my cards well, wanting to expand people's perspective on something. So in that life path, my Saturn card is the 2 of Clubs. 2 is about partnership, communication, connecting, teamwork. Clubs represent the mind, and that's about communication and conversation. So, mentally stimulating conversations. Now, a lot of my life, I'd be very fearful of speaking what I thought. So, all through school, I would never raise my hands. I would never want to say what I was really thinking. I had a lot of fear around confrontation. I would get, I don't know, annihilated, confronted if I actually said what I thought. So I had a lot of, there was, challenge for me to really speak what my ideas, my concepts, what I think about something. Something's going on in the world, on the news. I'd be just quiet about it. I don't say one word about it. I just listen. So that not saying what I think would affect my physical body. And I definitely had a lot of physical issues in my life, like holding and digestive issues and stomach issues and, things like that. And so as I learned my cards, I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense that would be my challenge. As I would start to communicate more and say what I think and let go of any fear around that I'll be confronted and things like that, I start to feel healthier in my physical body because my physical body feels more relaxed and more at peace. And I don't have like the digestive issues that I used to because I'm playing the card well. I'm playing the energy pattern well. And the other, say one more thing.
Chime in.
For example, is the fact that I'm even on this hot tub. That is an enormous example because I would be, oh God, no way, I'm fearful. And what if,
Yeah.
what if it doesn't go well? Or what if I'm judged? Or what if, whatever, And so overcoming that, being able to communicate, then I feel healthier and happier in myself, laying that energy well.
I want to chime in as her husband because I see this very clearly
Yeah.
that she will be brooding over something. And I know her well enough to know when she's holding something in and she's worrying about something or even just reflecting on something. There's energy that she's holding. And I'll say to her, let's talk about it. Tell me what's going on. And as soon as she communicates what's happening for her, her whole energy relaxes. The whole energy shifts. And I'm empathic. I'm born to play the 9 of hearts. So I feel things to the 9s. So I'm empathic and I can feel her energy. And her whole energy shifts the moment she clears it out of her head and communicates what's going on for her. In layman's terms, if we want to project this out into the kind of mainstream general understanding, what it means is that talk therapy would be Viki's medicine. She would get her best health benefit by talking through whatever is going on for her. So seeing a counselor or psychologist or therapist would be the idea for her as the good medicine, as what would help her with her health. And it maybe is a little counterintuitive if she's got a physical ailment in her body that what's going to help her is to talk about it. That might not necessarily immediately connect in people's minds. But that's why it's so wonderful to have this ancient knowledge, to have this map, to have this toolkit, because we can see from a holistic perspective what's affecting what and what will benefit what. And we each have a Saturn card in our life path, so we know exactly what we need to do for our health and well-being. Doesn't mean we're going to do it, but we know what it is.
Exactly, yeah.
We're still learning that lesson, maybe.
Wow. So first of all, definitely I also want to mention this. Like when I said about the Saturn's energy, I personally used to think that in Vedic astrology only it matters. But when I had read and heard from your part as well, I thought no, something definitely is there. We need to look for it because I am number 3. So I don't know. By birth date, basically, it is 30th. 30th.
Remind us of your birthday, yes.
Yeah. So it's 30th of November. So,
Right.
yeah. So
it's a 3 of hearts is your birth card. And so you have the life path of the 3 of hearts. Do you want to know your Saturn card?
no, sure. Because that is I mean, we always have that face when we hear this planet's name, like Saturn. Oh my God. And what will happen? So, yeah, exactly.
Oh, your Saturn card in your life path is the 3 of diamonds. It's another 3. And the 3 is about marching to the beat of your own drum, going your own way, creating your own way. And diamonds represent the physical, material layers of our reality. And so you need to find your own way physically, materially, financially. And that means not worrying about your well-being or your finances, that you won't be able to be successful or create your own way if you go your own way. The thing that will hurt your health the most is anxiety about money or anxiety about your physical well-being.
True. Exactly. So
It'll work on you from the inside out. Again, from a holistic perspective, you may get irrationally anxious or indecisive or worried about, am I going to make enough money? Am I going to be physically safe? How's my physical health going to be if I go this way? If I do create my own way, will everything work out? Will all be well with me? And that irrational anxiety can paralyze you and it can make you physically sick.
no, I mean, what you just said is definitely I can relate to the areas definitely, but I believe deep looking into it will definitely help. So definitely, I'll connect separately on this for sure. And so uh, I definitely want to ask you one more thing. Is like,
Yeah.
what do you tell someone like who is kind of afraid that even if they understand their blueprint, they're still going to mess it up, like still going to fall back into the same traps. So,
Do you mean somebody who has
hmm,
three of hearts as their birth card, or the three of diamonds as their Saturn card?
yes, as an example, we can take it. Yeah, definitely.
I'm teasing a little bit because the way you even worded the question, it sounded like there was some fear or some anxiety that what if I don't get it right, and then will everything work out for me, which is
Yeah.
what we had just said for your Saturn card. So I'm just teasing a little bit. But you're asking a very good question, which is the distinction between knowing your cards and playing them well.
Hmm.
And knowing your cards, I can tell you in just a few minutes what they are. So can Vicky. We can tell you what they are. But honestly, it can take a lifetime to learn how to play them well.
True.
There's also, the aspect of really accepting the patterns that are in play and accepting oneself in those patterns.
Hmm.
Because if we do fall backwards, I mean, I've had those moments many times where I will think I've overcome something and things are like going well and there are synchronicities and things feel good. And then, like then I crash and I don't maybe feel good in my body. And then I've, been hard on myself, like, oh, why is this happening to me again?
Hmm.
With some kind of repeating pattern. But to deny it, to try to push it away, to numb it out, to be like, no, I got to get back to where I was, that is all resisting and resistance persists. So there is an acceptance that happens in the pattern. So if we have a pattern, it's like, okay, something is happening for me right now. It doesn't really feel good, but I accept this in this moment. This is a part of my experience. This is a part of me and how I'm feeling, and honoring ourselves, honoring our feelings, accepting our feelings, loving that's a form of loving ourselves, to really accept ourselves. And as we do that, there's a softening that happens. And then that's when the actual shifts, can happen, is when there's full acceptance. Not of the actual, maybe not of like things that are happening to us. Like if something tragic happens, I'm not saying, oh, you know, i- you know, love that experience. It's not about that. It's about loving your response to that experience.
Hmm.
So how can I love myself more by just loving all the things that are happening for me, and I mean loving how I'm responding to the things that are happening, the feelings that I have about things when a recurring pattern happens.
Exactly. Amazing, amazing. And I know time is constrained, but still, if you have to give one advice to the listeners, what that will be?
It's worth it to learn how to play your cards right. That's when the magic starts to happen on a regular basis in your life. You start to see the synchronicities, things start to line up for you, and you notice the magic. And then life is no longer as boring or as ordinary or as hopeless because you're noticing the patterns and noticing that things do line up in interesting, surprising ways when you focus on playing your cards right. That's when you put yourself in tune with life, literally.
Okay. So, and if listeners wants to connect with you, what will the great medium to connect?
So you can find us at thesourcecards.com is our website. You can go on the homepage, plug in your birthday and look up your first two cards to play in your life path. Start to get to know your cards and learn about them, and see the energy patterns. On social media, we're at the Source Cards, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Exactly. Lovely. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for easy reference. Just go check out, like the key has already mentioned, go put your birth and you just check the cards. And I have to say, like, Alexander and Vicky, thank you so much for bringing this work. It's really, really great. And if I believe it definitely gonna solve a lot of queries of people today. And also, like, dear listeners, like, you came into this world with a map, I'd say. I mean, obviously, there is some direction and everything. So you have been carrying it all along. So today's conversation was all about learning to read it, and not as a kind of limitation, but as a kind of guide. So the patterns that you keep meeting are not the proof that you are stuck. They are the proof that you are ready to see, to shift, to play the game that you are born for. So take that with you. And with this, I have to say that this is your host, Ravi, again. This is Healthy Mind, Healthy Line. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Avik.